Hello and welcome from Ukraine. We would like to introduce a very special guest. Captain, U.S. Navy Captain Garri Tabach and I, we have a very special guest today and a very special event, though our audience probably knows the guest very well, but still I would like to ask Garri to introduce our special guest to the audience.
Sure. It is retired General Ben Hodges. And sir, top of the Army morning to you. And it was an honor to serve with you on the same team. And again, I think you're a great friend of Ukraine. I'm in Ukraine right now, as you can see. It's like being in a sieged Leningrad during World War II. It's very eerie, no lights, no heat, no water. It's very difficult for people to be here. I'm right now at the hospital visiting some wounded guys. So to get right to the chase, I will let Maria ask you the first questions. Please, sir, I'll give you a heads up. Please do not be fooled by her angel look and her heavenly voice, being an opera singer. There are horns sometimes sticking out there. She could be tough. So Maria, attack the general.
Thank you so much. And well, yes, I'm very sorry to have a question which is, of course, bothering me a lot since 2022, because as you know, Russians were retreating and Ukraine's spirit was so high and morality and everything. The only thing that was lacking was the weapons. And there was the Land-Lease Act voted by supermajority into the law. And everything seemed to be so cool. And we were thinking about the victory approaching. And then President Biden decided not to give the land lease to Ukraine, not a single unit of anything. And this is the greatest disappointment to me for all these years. And that is my question. Why do you think was the decision made like that?
Yeah, I think it was a terrible mistake by the U.S. administration, the Biden administration, and other countries not to follow through on delivering everything that Ukraine needed. I think this is for two reasons, at least two reasons. Number one, the administration never clearly defined a strategic outcome, an objective for the war, to say that we want Ukraine to defeat Russia. This was a huge disappointment to me also because I was so sure, and I've been criticized a lot, correctly, for being overly optimistic, but I just could not imagine that the United States government would not, support Ukraine to help Ukraine win. But they didn't. That's why you had this constant, we're with you for as long as it takes, which is a totally empty political statement. But the objective, really, what we figured out later was to help Ukraine have a strong negotiating position rather than defeat Ukraine. So defeat Russia. So if you don't have a clearly defined objective, then it's very difficult to make good policies to carry out, to achieve that objective. And, the decision to give certain kind of weapons, for example, or types of aid, those are policy decisions, but those have to flow from the objective. And so that was the biggest mistake. The second thing, and I think these are connected, is the administration and many European countries had an exaggerated fear that Russia would use a nuclear weapon. And I think that I never believed that it was likely that Russia would use a nuclear weapon because there was no benefit for Russia to use a nuclear weapon. Their benefit came from the threat because they saw the impact it had on us and Germany and UK and others. And so that's why about every 2 weeks, Medvedev or somebody would come out and talk about a nuclear weapon just to remind everybody. So that's a long answer to a good, hard, fair question. Why didn't we take advantage of this opportunity to help Ukraine defeat Russia, which would have been good for the U.S., it would have been good for Europe. Instead, we didn't for those two reasons, in my view.
Thank you, General.
Yes, unfortunately, Maria and I and many other people, we stood in front of the White House at the time, 22 and 23, demanding that United States and the administration execute the will of the American people, because it was voted in to have a land lease for Ukraine, but didn't work out. Sir, you and I were very, very lucky. Because you and I, we were never served in the military that had conscripts. But, and today in Ukraine, it's not 2022 when the morale is so high and young men and women are rushing to the recruiting offices trying to get themselves to the front to fight this evil. Today, what's happening here is what's called busification. I don't know if you heard that term, where the little buses, vans, drive around and guys dressed up as soldiers grab people on the street, young men, old men, men almost of our age.
With hidden faces, by the way, there's Valentine's.
Yes, and grab them into the military, and there are fights, and there's a lot of horrible things. As a matter of fact, yesterday, one of my friends, who's a single father, raising a daughter, was grabbed also, and we don't know where he is. Do you think with this kind of military, it's possible to fight a war? If there also the current administration in Ukraine, they said that men 18 to 25 can leave Ukraine, or to 23 of age can leave Ukraine, and so many young men have left. So right now on the streets of Ukraine, of Kiev at least, where I'm right now, is very few young men walking around. So is that a capable military to fight the Russians, in your opinion?
Well, of course, it would be inappropriate for me as an outsider to comment on how Ukraine mans its force. But I do think a part of this is about regaining the confidence of Ukrainian families and people that the military it's not the old Soviet prison army, but that it's one where nobody is going to get sent to the fight unless they have been properly equipped and properly trained. So that's the contract from the government to the population in any country, is to earn the confidence of the population. Secondly, of course, I can only imagine how difficult it is for the government now and the leadership to find enough people to fill the ranks. But I have to say, I spoke last week at a conference in Germany with 7 Ukrainian soldiers, 4 women and 3 men, who had different jobs, and they were different ranks. And I was astounded at their determination, their morale. I mean, from a young woman to a couple of older guys. I was impressed, actually. And I saw no quit in them. I saw that they were determined to finish this, and they had been at it for quite some time. Now, I would say this: I don't know that women have. I don't know that Ukraine has made the best use of women that want to serve. I mean, this is still a traditional society. I know that. But the United States, we do not have enough men that want to volunteer to serve in the U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force and Marine Corps. And so we had to turn to find ways to attract women to want to serve. So as long as they could meet the standards. And now, as you know, in the U.S. military, a woman can be on a submarine, can be in special forces, can be a paratrooper, can be an engineer, can be a doctor. I think that Ukraine has untapped resource of women who would be very, very good soldiers, but that hasn't been fully utilized. That's how I would say that. And by the way, I say the same things
Yeah.
to the German Bundeswehr here. You know, they're trying to decide do they have to do a draft, but actually they do nothing or very little to attract women to come serve in the Bundeswehr. I think this is something that is worth looking at.
Can I
Yes, sir. I
also have an
fully agree.
additional question?
Well,
And
that
that
just
is,
let me just say something to the general. That's absolutely correct. And I think my daughter is in the military. She was a surface warfare officer. Now she's a JAG officer. And another great friend of Ukraine, General Kellogg, his daughter was in combat in the West Point graduate. So yes, you're saying the Israeli army definitely utilizes women in a great capacity here. But in Ukraine, it is absolutely true. It's not enough, and I think that a highly motivated, well-paid, a well-trained, equipped woman is a much better warfighter than somebody that you grab on the street and force them into a military who's probably going to bring more damage than good. And again, like you and I, we've never served in the conscript military, so it's difficult for us to judge. We're Russians, of course. We've done it for centuries. Yes, I'm sorry, Maria. Go ahead.
a little additional question. It is almost 4 years, and it's going to be 4 years almost in 2 days. And Ukraine was standing all these 4 years and is still standing still. I'm wondering if there could be any international support in the way of sending troops to help Ukrainians, and not only look throughout here and see if there is any other resource to find more people who could be on the front line. 4 years, everyone is on the front line, men and women. Of course, there might be more capacity of women. I agree with that, but is there a way to get other countries involved and send their troops finally to help us a little bit?
Yeah, first of all, I think there's almost zero chance that's going to happen at this point. The what is, and certainly the U.S. government is not. This current administration is not going to do that until perhaps after some sort of agreement is made. Um, I
No
think
D-Day, I see.
what is needed for Ukraine, in my view, is a commitment by European countries and Canada, even if the U.S. is not willing to do it, but European countries to give Ukraine what it needs. The best way to defend Europe is to make sure that Ukraine is successful defeating Russia inside Ukraine. So that means not only providing capabilities, weapons, and so on, but also helping by stopping these shadow fleet vessels that are going out to the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. I think Russia is only able to keep this war going through the sale of oil and gas to China and India, Turkey, and other customers. And so help Ukraine with long-range precision strike capabilities that can destroy the refineries, but also stop the shadow fleet vessels going through the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. That's the best help. Well, and then I should also add, of course, uh, using the frozen Russian assets that Belgium blocked a few weeks ago, use those to help provide the support for Ukraine. These are the kind of things that are needed, not 1,000 German or Polish or French soldiers.
Right. Well, sir, it seems to me that our administration right currently is doing that. We are stopping that gray fleet on the oceans, but the Europeans are not doing their part in the Black Sea and the Baltic Sea. They haven't been doing that.
I don't know if I completely agree with that. There have been not nearly enough, but in fact, there was another one that was stopped just yesterday that the French have done. The one that the U.S. has stopped, unfortunately, they're not carrying Russian oil; they're carrying oil from Venezuela. That had a Russian flag on it. That's, what we're talking about is what I'm advocating is stopping the ones that are carrying Russian oil that's going to China, India, and Turkey. And it's, to me, it's inexcusable that all the countries around the Baltic Sea, 8 countries that are NATO countries and EU countries, that they are so far have not effectively stopped it. I see baby steps, but there's a reluctance there because they're treating this like a crime scene where you have to have perfect evidence, versus stopping them. And we'll see. I think more and more Europeans or European countries are realizing that if Ukraine fails, that this is going to be a catastrophe for the rest of Europe. So I am cautiously optimistic that that is changing.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, it seems like to me that our administration now did a very good job in with the Venezuelan oil and saying that it cannot be providing the Venezuelan oil to China, North Korea, Cuba, and Russia. But India can get Venezuelan oil at the discounted prices, and India should develop their oil industry in Venezuela, which Venezuelan acting president now welcomes it, and India now is pulling away from Russia. I think it was a pretty good, tricky thing to do, or a wise thing to do. Sir, I have one more question for you. You said in one of your programs that it is worth the goal to eliminate 50,000 Russians troops a month, which is I guess demanded or recommended by President Zelensky. But even if it is 1-to-5 ratio, which I, being here on the ground, do not believe it is the ratio, it's probably less. But even if it's 1-to-5 kill ratio, then it's 10,000 Ukrainians. How long do you think Ukrainians will be able to withstand such war of attrition if 10,000 Ukrainians will be killed a month?
Yeah, well, again, you guys are there. You'll have a better sense of things than I might, but the Russians are the ones that have chosen this attrition approach because they absolutely don't care about their own casualties, at least not the ones so far. But it is a useful part. I think it can be an effective part of an overall strategy that is built around destroying Russia's oil and gas infrastructure, but also um, by killing more Russians than can be brought to replace them. I mean, at some point, manpower becomes an issue for Russia. And it's that combination of manpower and impact on their economy and the willingness of people at home to continue supporting this. Um, I think that from what I read and study, some of the oblasts are not able to pay the bonuses anymore that they used to attract poor men from out in the hinterlands of the Russian Federation. Um,
Yeah.
so it's at some point that does become a factor. But your point is a good one that, attrition warfare means you're also being attrited. Now, I think it seems to me that this kill zone sort of approach on the battlefield has enabled Ukraine to actually minimize the amount of people they have to have actually in contact. That if you can reduce your own vulnerability, that's what it seems like they have been able to do. No doubt that if you're, a soldier that's there, it's absolute terrible. but if you can reduce the exposure of your own guys to that while still stopping Russians from being able to make any meaningful progress, uh, as part of an overall effort, which also aims at destroying Russia's oil and gas export and destroying Russian factories that make drones, for example. Um, I don't know that you have any other great choices. I mean, there's not some weapon that's going to show up and all of a sudden it solves it. And I think, as hard as it is, Ukraine is going to have to address its manpower issues, and it's not just bodies; it's also about leadership. Do you have leaders?
Yes.
Do you have leaders? And I think you know from your own experience, regardless of technology, regardless of the situation, if you have a positive leader that people believe in, that never wastes the lives of his soldiers, but is focused on accomplishing the mission, this is how Ukraine will prevail. There is no
100,
easy solution.
100%, 100%. Sir. Maria, you're not
Well, it
torturing
was
the
a
general enough.
great honor to me. Well, I am very thankful, and I hope that we'll meet one day all together in Ukraine and that we will have something to celebrate. Though
Well,
now
it
the
seemed,
point where we seem to be is very hard, I want to ask General just to say a few words to the Ukrainians to raise a little bit the moral spirit, though it is high generally in Ukraine, as you have mentioned, but just a few words more and we'll finish our show then.
Well, first, thanks to both of you for the privilege to be on your program. Um, I am always impressed with the spirit of Ukrainians. I meet men and women in uniform or civilians. I have several friends from over the past decade that are Ukrainian that that are fighting. I'm dear friends, and I worry about their families who are the target of Russian war crimes every night. What people are enduring in the middle of winter right now. But I think I've heard enough Ukrainians say that the the result of not fighting will be the destruction of your country and the loss of your people. So it's such an important task, and I think your soldiers that are out there and civilians that are sacrificing are doing this knowing that they're protecting their families, but they're also protecting the future of Ukraine. And one day this is going to be over, and I personally would not want to be somebody who sat it out, that didn't contribute. Because when it's all said and done, when the suffering is over, you know, what will you tell your
yes,
grandkids?
yes,
I
sir.
think so.
Yeah,
War,
so, yeah,
war is a test of will and it's a test of logistics. And it's clear that Ukraine has the superior will. It's up to us to help make sure that they have superior logistics.
absolutely 100%. Well, Marie, it doesn't seem like you're cold out there and you do have electricity, which I'm very
Well,
jealous of.
today, yes, I'm at the Kosov School of Arts. My son and my pupils, well, they sing. My son plays violin. We have a special event today, as you can see. We have fortunately lights. Yes, that's
Well,
the good news today.
hopefully you invite the good general and I to one of your content. Sir, it is an honor. Thank you very much. I hope you come to our program again. And I do not like to speak for all of the people because it's a very communist thing to do. But I can say, and I'm only a guest in Ukraine. I come here as a volunteer, but I can say that Ukrainians think that you're a great friend of Ukraine and that you never give up. Of course, as an American general, we don't give up that easy. And I also want our Ukrainian friends and our Ukrainian people that are fighting so hard to share our values, our American values. And this is what our American values. General and I and Maria, we have different political views on current administration or past administration in the American politics. But you can see that the general and I and Maria, we can have a conversation. We have the same goal. We share the same values, even though we don't share the same political views on the administration. So this is what I think that is also that Ukrainians can adopt from us, that there should be opposition, that there should be dialogue, and it should be done in a respectful way, and we can learn from each other all the time. It also represents a leadership. Leadership, as the general mentioned, is very important. If you have good leaders, even if you don't share their view, but it's a leader. How often, sir, we had bosses that we didn't share, but they were leaders, and we knew they were good leaders, although we didn't like them very much. So this is what I wanted to say. I wanted to show our appreciation. Maria and I, we appreciate very much that you came. We know you're very busy. It took us a long time to set it up with the help of your beautiful wife. And I hope you come back and share your views with us again. I'm sure Ukrainians love to hear that.
Thank you very much for the privilege, guys, and best wishes to all of you. And good luck with your concert today.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so as you can see, Maria, we did it. And like I said, even though we have different political views, General Hodges did his homework. He knew who he was talking to, and showed what I could call leadership.
What I liked very much today about also precising what you have just said, that the general was very honest, that he was not saying populistic things like whatever. He was, and I felt support and empathy. And that touched me a lot.
Yes, me too. Me too. He was very honest. He was very clear. He and again, our political views are absolutely on the opposite sides of the spectrum, but that is what a good leader can do, is bring us together. And I think that General Hodges did bring us together closer. And that is what American values are. That's what we fight for. Hopefully in Ukraine soon that will be the same way. Thank you, Maria. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gary, a lot. And let's hope that this was the first scheduled show and that we'll have some more to be continued. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.